All right, T and V coming to you today to talk about the heart of the healer. But first, I feel that it's really important that we start in the heart and take a moment to just drop in and know that whoever found themselves here today to receive this message, that they receive exactly what they need, and that you and I together decide to be a conduit and an instrument for that information. So do you feel called to close your eyes? That's perfect. Yeah. I will do the same. And if you're listening or viewing and tuning in and it's safe to do so and you want to close your eyes with us, that would be super welcome. When your eyes are closed, just allow yourself to fill the silence with your breath. Catching your breath and slowing down your inhale and exhale. Just arriving into this moment, knowing that something led you here that was bigger than you. Your soul knows that there's something here for you. And my highest intention for today's podcast with my beloved team member and friend, spiritual ally on this earth walk, Tania, that we may be the conduits and the instruments of whatever medicine you need from today's conversation. God, I ask that you provide Tania and I with the right information to support healers, starseeds, lightworkers who are on this mission of awakening at this time, the right information through us that brings insight, clarity, thought leadership, depth, reassurance, and anything else you might have in store for today's conversation through us. We thank you for the gift of being able to use our medicine and the evolution of our relationship to be here right now, to say yes, a holy yes, to expansion, to growing our leadership and our faith in you simultaneously. We ask for our egos to step aside and our higher hearts to sing as we become the messengers for the heart of the healer today. Take a deep breath and receive the prayer.
So good.
That was beautiful.
It was.
Oh, brought my ego back in.
It was amazing.
I thought that was really special. I feel very thankful to have been able to bring that through. And it just feels like it took the energy and was like...
Yeah. There was a point where I just felt a whole grounding.
Good.
It's like, okay, we're on mission here.
We're here. We have arrived.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, so I'm going to get right into it.
Of course you are. Of course.
Can you tell? I've been working on that part.
Yeah.
You run this incredible company, not just here in the physical world, but the work that you do is impacting people right now, not just the clients that you have, but globally, between your school, between the merges that you run, your podcast meditations and prayers, so much, and just who you are. So I want to be able to today slowly just peel back the layers of the heart and bring out the heart of the healer that you are. How do you stay true? How have you managed to stay true to your healing gifts while running a business? Because those are two polar opposites. And how do you, in the middle, become this grounding cord?
They both matter equally. We have to run businesses that are legally bound and sound, because that protects the energetic integrity of the work that we do. Also, it's an identity piece. We are deciding that, yes, we are starseeds who are working with high frequency information to assist the planet in our awakening, but we also have standards. We also have parameters. We also have real outcomes we're providing the world. And that business identity has to be adopted. Now, thankfully, I feel that was very easy for me because I've been a brand for over 20 years of my life before I segued into being a healer. being a professional child performer, everything was about being a brand.
Yeah.
Building a brand, building a parameter and saying thrive there, and being able to have the understanding of how to refine myself to build, I guess, if you will, a public image that served an outcome. So that was very easy for me to do in my business. It didn't come without challenge to have to kind of lean into the part of me that was afraid of how people would receive a 10-page contract to join a mastermind.
Yeah.
Or an NDA for my team, or lengthy contracts regardless of what someone is joining in my world, privacy policies, terms and conditions, that came with an edge. But I realized that allowed me to protect the integrity of my work as a healer, because the standard that I upheld myself to meant that the work that I did and the severity of the work that I did not allow anyone to overstep what my role is in serving them. And that being that. People don't get to overstep and say, well, I'm having now this experience, and now, Victoria, you're the person who's wrong. It allowed me to go, actually, you're responsible for accepting the healing that I am naturally offering you through the gifts that I have. Mm-hmm. And that's up to you. My role is to facilitate based on the contract and our soul contract, what our work is together. And so first things first, the business has to be there. You have to have legitimate offers that provide real transformation.
Yep.
And they have to be extremely tangible, because we're in a time where people are more skeptical, and they're rightfully so. You have to have terms and conditions, privacy policies, NDAs in your company, strong contracts, regardless of what relationship someone has with you. Yep. You need to protect the energetic infrastructure of what God has brought through you. Part one, when it comes to the healer, being able to stay true has come from being able to have a unbreakable relationship with God, which is totally different than my guides and totally different than the beings that I channel. My relationship with God is with the almighty creator of everything that is. The beings I work with are in alignment with that frequency, but they do not supplement my relationship with God. They do not replace my relationship with God. They are allies that are on relationship with me, that are working with me to serve God. So first things first, relationship with God, having a direct line where I can communicate, connect, pray, release with my creator. The second part of that is being able to develop my own soul connection that is independent of any external modality or tool or dependency or reliance. Meaning, can I sit my butt here, close my eyes, feel the sensations that are present, limit distraction, and tune in to my own energetic field? Be able to clear the channel and hear the own wisdom of my own soul, my own higher self, and the soul contracts of my teams of spirit that are supporting me in evolving my soul on this planet, independent of everyone and everything. As a healer, too many cooks in the kitchen equals a confused, distorted channel, a loss of your unique direction, and usually the settling of your full potential. That combination is how I've been able to stay true to myself. I built a business that was legitimate, that had real transformation, that I could replicate universally. And then I stopped needing people in the external world, things and tools that had been polluted and distorted over time, like a tarot card or an oracle deck or a pendulum, to validate something that I could access within myself. And I did the uncomfortable work to be able to hear that own information that existed in my own energetic field, so that no one else could produce my own meal but whatever I was able to access within myself. That's the recipe. Don't get distracted in your healing work. You have to be able to know your own self and hear your own wisdom of your own soul. And then make sure you actually have a business, a real business, that can fortify and build what God has brought through you as the healer.
Well, yeah, because how are you protecting? What are you building your foundation on?
Yeah. In the Bible, it says you can't build a good tree with rotten fruit.
Yeah.
A rotten tree will not produce good fruit.
Yep.
That's just fact.
Yeah.
And so we have to build that foundation of being able to have our own relationship quietly, sovereignly with our own spirit. And then as a byproduct of that, we then bring that same energy into what we're building in our business, right? A sovereign, solid, very strongly, energetically contained business model so that what God has given us through our channel can thrive in something that's real.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. So, on that note, what have you found to be the most fulfilling aspect of guiding others on their spiritual journey? Because when I look at you, I look at you as someone that is so highly advanced. I mean, yes, your years in performance, music, art, all of this has given you that edge. Yeah. But, you started this in 2020.
Yep.
And 5 years in, literally 5 years in this month.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we're in March.
Yeah.
This month.
Yeah.
Look at how far you've come.
Yep.
So what part of this is helping, what is the most fulfilling part for you as you help others on their journey now?
Well, it's true. I've only been doing this for 5 years. And yet I feel that I have remembered so much of my own hybrid DNA. I remember who I am as a very advanced alienoid hybrid being on planet Earth. And I feel like I've been able to really work with that strength that I have as a spirit. And that right there is what I want to be able to offer everyone else who works with me, because that's what I love to see the most. I love to see people who did not resonate with mainstream spirituality for whatever reason, or they did, and then something shifted and it just felt very performative, lukewarm, like it was missing something, like what they were chasing felt unobtainable. And it felt like the very same matrix that they had left prior to their awakening.
Yeah.
And I love meeting people at that depth of fork in the road, where they're aware that they have unique abilities that require a level of vulnerability and trust and connection that they have not yet been able to find or refine within themselves yet. So a lot of times people come to me with, I know I'm super powerful, but what if I'm doing this wrong?
Yeah.
What if I don't know this is real? I have these crazy intuitive insights, but what actually is it? And so I get people in this very rich, soiled place where they understand they're different. They understand that their gifts are unique. But what are those gifts? And how do I refine my internal experience of doubt and worry and distrust in what I'm receiving, and learn how to be able to have the right tools to be able to open up that really raw part of them that's I'm afraid of being who I truly am. With the right tools, they're able to access that. So what's the most fulfilling for me is watching somebody coming to me saying, what if what I'm doing is wrong? What if it's not real? I know I'm super powerful, but what do I do with all of this? To then go, I know exactly who I am. I'm certain of how to use my gifts in integrity, with the right knowledge about duality on this planet and how to be a discerning conduit with a wide open channel that's protected. And I know how to uniquely use my soul gifts to benefit the world. I have never created a cookie cutter kind of person in my world. Yeah. Even though the Sovereign Healer has 9 months of very particular modules that may seem like they're creating a cookie cutter, I'm not doing that. I'm giving somebody the knowledge to master their own energy so that they can feel what is them on a soul cellular level. And then what I see popping up with all of my students is they're awakening extraordinary abilities where no two are alike.
Wow.
That drives me, because I think you and I can both agree on this. The one thing that maybe brought both of us in our past into a performing career was being ostracized and being unique and being different. I have felt that my entire life.
Same.
My entire life, there has been this feeling of I don't belong.
Yeah.
I'm different. I don't make sense. I feel like every community I'm in, I'm a round peg in a square hole.
Yeah.
And finally, once I followed this path of how do I listen to what's going on in here? Because none of that seems to be working for me. And all these internal pieces started to turn online so fast. That right there is what people come to me with. And now I have the honor of being able to help them go, that weird thing in you, that unique thing that doesn't resonate with mainstream jargon, spiritual salad, that doesn't resonate with, here's the one way to do this spiritual work, or here's this, that. But they want the integrity and the knowledge and the confidence and the certainty. They get to find that. And I get to be a facilitator of that. And there are no words to describe truly how fulfilling that feels for me as a spirit.
I love that. I love that so much. And one of the thoughts that came up as I was just hearing you was, I would say that you almost help people come home to God.
That is one of the biggest things people end up saying to me. You help me find my faith. Yeah. Which is interesting because I'm not openly talking about faith.
No.
My marketing is not about faith. It's about sovereignty. It's about energetic command. It's about taking back your own power from people, external tools, and outdated ways of growing spirituality, where enlightenment is more important than balance. And that aim for enlightenment is what has people out of balance more and more and more and more, creating more and more loopholes of deception in their energy, because they're aiming for unity consciousness when we're in the middle of thousands and thousands of years of energetic warfare.
Yeah.
So in short, I do help restore faith because I remind people that that connection is within them. It's all there in them. They can just close their eyes and pray to God over the truth. Over the truth.
Yeah.
Over the truth of their timing. And that goes for their psychic gifts as well. Praying over the truth and learning to listen with your skin. Praying over the truth, being open to receive. And then rinse, lathering, and repeating that enough that discipline sets in. The feminine starts to soften with the right masculine frame the sovereign healer teaches you. And next thing you know, boom, 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 all these gifts are blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much because I also feel like what you teach inside of the sovereign healer, it's not just applicable only to healers or people in the spiritual world or energy healing world. I think it's applicable to people in mainstream professions. I'm talking counselors, social workers, teachers, paramedics, EMTs, police officers, like the whole corporate.
Yes.
Because everyone needs to understand how to communicate in capital T truth.
Yep.
Identify what's truly resonant, what's theirs, what's not other people's. Yep. I drown out the noise and truly hear God's voice.
Yep.
And then act on the free will that God has given you.
Yep. Yes. I never thought that dream would actually be a thing. God gave me that dream. Yeah. That was not a dream that I alone had. I built the Sovereign Healer in 2022.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, let's see if this spaghetti sticks. Because whatever I've been doing,
I remember that.
Whatever I've been doing, I think it works. Maybe it works for me and the little bits of clients that I had been training under whatever would ultimately become the curriculum and methodology. Now in 2025, this dream of working, supporting anyone in corporate, people in high stress, high performance industries, people who are highly empathetic that are service providers in the world, our starseed children that are inside of the education system, I do not believe that dream was mine. I believe that is a responsibility that God has given me and a flicker of potential of how big these tools are. Because they're so simple. Ground, shield, protect, and cleanse. Learn how to be able to listen with your skin. Learn how to actually be able to use your discernment, challenge everything you see. Stop taking in other people's advice, essentially, and learn how to be able to hear your own soul. And then working with the 5 stages of energy healing. To remove, or to open, to remove, to restore, to surge, and to seal. That's it. That's what I teach inside of the Sovereign Healer methodology. And yet, the most beautiful story, I'll share it with you because I think you'll really appreciate it. One of my clients who's inside of my mastermind, her daughter is on the spectrum. Okay. And she goes to this camp that she loves to go to. And she goes to the camp and comes back and says, Mom, I don't want to stay there anymore. There was a really scary spirit there. Something was really scary, really freaked me out. My client said, had I not have had the sovereign healer, I probably would have told my daughter, meh, that was nothing. Don't worry about it. It was all in your head.
Yeah.
Instead, with the support of the mastermind, we were able to say, hey, maybe there's something that she's picking up on. Let's feel into this. And so my client ended up looking into it from the facilitators or the teachers that like kind of ran the space. And they confirmed back to her that a lot of people have said that particular room, the room that the daughter stays in, has had paranormal activity that has happened.
Oh my goodness.
And so my client got really emotional on a live I was on with her and said, you gifted me the opportunity to be able to teach my daughter in real time how to blow up her bubble of her shield before she goes, because she still wants to go to camp, but she wants to feel safe.
Yeah.
And I would have dismissed my starseed child had you have not taught me the sovereign healer way.
Wow. And I got chills listening to this.
It's just one example, but
it is. And, thinking of children, like I have 2 kids and like, I'm assuming your client's child she was 6, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not too far from my son's age. And like children are so attuned.
Yep.
And connected.
Yep.
Like,
more than ever before.
Yeah.
More than ever before, because they have to hold the overtones of the frequency shift that's happening on this planet. Recently, I channeled about Lemuria and the civilization of Lemuria holding the most crystalline organic frequency that we as starseeds long the most to find, but feels the hardest to find on Earth because it's so pure. But if you look to animals and you look to children, you'll find that Lemurian consciousness that still exists within all of us. And these children are holding that Lemurian Christ, if you will, consciousness, where they don't need words or society or conditioning. They just feel. They can feel when somebody needs something and they don't have to explain themselves. They don't need to be justified why they're coming over to give you a hug. They live in the resonance of sensation. Yeah. And that's something that I think we long to have so deeply within humanity, but the frequencies are so distorted right now as we're trying to move into more positive polarity that Lemurian consciousness feels like it's all the way out there. But if we look to children and we look to animals, we will find that imprint, that wave of unconditionality, but deeper than that heart energy.
100%.
We want to be able to the best of our capacity in such a dense world that we're in, maintain and flex and stay open to.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, my son's grown up listening to you.
I know.
Both of them.
I know.
And, one of the things that I've taught them, like when we pray, for context, like I am Christian, I'm Catholic.
Yep.
I pray, and one of the things that I would always teach my son was you can rebuke anything.
Yes.
Anything, anyone's energy, like even if you're in the same room as people, you don't have to, and they pick up on things.
Of course.
And children cry. If they're with someone that they genuinely do not like they will cry, they will be whatever. And I'm like, okay, we're leaving. That's it. We have a code word and we exit the space.
Oh, I love that you've created such a safe space.
Yeah,
for them.
we've just created, even just as a family, between hubby, myself, and the kids, we're like, it's a code word. I'm like, it's getting late. I'm like, it's my bedtime. I'm like, I'm a baby grandma. I'm like, so he always is a baby grandma time. I'm like, yes, it's baby grandma time. We got to go.
Cute.
And we leave.
I love that.
But I've taught them to revoke and just rebuke, just in the name of Christ, I rebuke you.
Yep.
It is not going to come to me. It's not touching the household. It is not touching the energetic field. Yep. And I think of the work you do and, and the way in which you do it. You don't do it by not having God in the picture.
God is my everything.
And so I just wanted to, that is what came up for me. And my mind was drawing the parallels and the similarities. And I'm like, the new way forward. And this is, I believe this is what Jesus was doing.
Yes.
Was bringing people together. Mm-hmm. Not without discounting that is God in the body.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly where I think we're trying to find what that merging is, if you will, between that unconditional, pure vibration that we each have in our soul architecture, by clearing that interference that has been kind of robbing our spirit from being in its crystalline form. And then through connection of God, with God, that's the fortification that allows us to keep going. You know, in the times where I've had betrayal or deep pain or a lot of psychic attack on my energy, it wasn't really my spiritual practices that saved me. It was God.
Yep.
It was praying to God.
Yeah.
And allowing God's power and will and messages to reassure me so deeply that what I was doing was his, you know, and that drives me. That's what keeps me going.
Chills going right now as you're sharing this,
because it's not my work.
You've not, you know, you talk about it, we talk about it, but I don't think you've ever brought this out to the forefront.
Mm-mm. No, I mean, I've spoken about how my relationship with God is one that I refuse to supplement with words that are not true. Like universe and God are not the same thing.
Yep.
Source and God are not the same thing. There is God and there is God. And then there are things that are not God.
Yep.
And we have to understand that even though everything comes from God with free will, it has created distortion. Mm-hmm. And I revoke absolutely anything that is not in resonance with God. Period.
Yep.
Hard stop. The highest frequency or the original design of God's vision for planet Earth, which was supposed to be a harmonized planet.
Yep.
Not an enlightened planet, a harmonized planet. Yep. I'm here for harmony. I'm not here for enlightenment. I'm not here for transcendence. I'm here to balance, right? The higher and the lower chakras through the heart. I'm here to balance business and healer through the heart. Yeah. I'm here to balance my alien, my super extraordinarily advanced hybrid starseed with the human that has 2 dogs and an amazing partner and loves music and loves to go for hikes. Like, it's the merging of both of those worlds that I believe is God's original infrastructure for this planet. And I'm not afraid to admit that God is my savior, my fortification, my will that makes this work, make sure that it's going to be done.
I love that.
I love you. Look at us.
I love that so much.
Good. Yeah.
I'm going to move, you know, I want to ask, right? Because we're speaking about the sovereign healer here. And like, that is the dream God gave you. That is the seed God has given you, which has become the IP that is hella protected because we're building a whole house and architecting a whole new thing here. How do you ensure that your teachings remain authentic as the business and the brand scale, like authentic to the healer and the healer's heart?
Well, it's taken a while for the method to feel solid in who I am and how I embody my day to day. And so the method is something that I just don't teach. It's something that I live. And so now I take that, you know, that concept, and I hope that it stays with me for life.
Yeah.
But I'm also open to changing and seeing where things go from here, and being open to knowing that if God wants to change direction, we'll change direction.
Exactly.
If there's something new we want to add in, then we'll just add something in. It's a method for right now that I can tell in my own system is absolutely what is meant to be brought into the world.
Yeah.
And then I'm also open
yeah.
to however that wants to weave for the betterment of the world. I don't believe that my perspectives on discernment, protection, and really having a fortified energetic field needs to be the only way forever. It's just in the time that we are in collectively, it is spiritually bypassing to assume that we do not need a fortified channel, protection of our energetic field, and the ability to discern what is light and what is false light, because nobody is Jesus.
No.
And nobody will ever be Jesus.
No.
And so we can learn through Jesus's teachings. We can learn through other ascended beings. We can learn through different aliens that are supporting us in our collective ascension. And at the end of the day, we are still in the middle of a very significant battlefield where most of us are still existing within that third and fourth dimension. We might touch 5D, right? We might touch those higher dimensions of awareness, but ultimately, even in these higher dimensions, there's just more sophisticated warfare. And if we don't have these 3 main things of energetic protection and sovereignty, and then also adding in that layer of discernment, we're not setting ourselves up for success as a soul. And that's something that really matters a lot to me. When people come into my world, I want them to feel like their soul is now successful in its natural order to be able to pursue why it came here. And like I said, that information may change in the centuries to come, but by then I'll be incarnate in something else. Right now, this information, based on the density of, if my role is to impact those that are on their spiritual awakening journey or are empathetic, sensitive, in tune, and don't totally know what that means, if that is my mission, right now, the sovereign healer has never been more important. Years down the line, if I want to refine, because that's what God's saying, hey, people need more help with discernment, let's go into the nuances of intergalactic warfare, fine, we'll go there. But for now, this is the way of the information that allows us to know our own soul, clear our own interference, and be able to successfully navigate the dimension of deception that is leaving this planet or alchemizing or balancing on this planet for more heart coherence to happen.
I love that. You know, it's so funny. Like we've worked together, and I've known you for what, 2 years? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Okay. But like totally though, like, you know, apart from me on my own faith walk and like journey with God and just returning home deeply to my faith, any time in the past, if there's stuff that would go awry or whatever, I would spiral down.
Yep.
But knowing what you do, having the faith that I have, knowing the God that I serve is always there behind me, with me, around me.
Yep.
And then also understanding the nuance of what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now when things happen, I'm like, okay, it's okay. We're going somewhere else now. It's okay, God, you're calling me here. All right.
Yes.
But prior to that, I would have never, prior to 2022, I would have never known how to just hold myself.
Yes.
I would spiral, and that was interference.
Oh yeah.
It was such bad spiritual warfare.
Yes, because your visibility matters. Who is meant to be the forefront? Actually, in the Bible, it talks about this. Like those who are at the front, when it comes to the time, they'll be in the back. And those who are in the back are going to come to the front. Like there's going to be a change of position that we're already seeing on this planet. Those that are currently visible right now, at least in the kind of spiritual mainstream community, they're going to take a back seat if all they're teaching is one part of the picture and not the whole understanding of humanity and where humanity is at. I understand trying to teach a certain concept, right, that allows people to open their heart, but in the same breath, that's so very limited to what people are truly experiencing that you can tell that they're disconnected from reality. We need leaders who are connected to reality, who've experienced the very thing that they're teaching, and can use that through their heart to be able to share that medicine with the world. The reason why I share the sovereign healer is because I've had psychic attack. Yeah. I was always being attacked by different spirits in new environments. Yeah. I remember there were multiple times that my fiance and I would be in a particular Airbnb and I didn't have any shielding techniques, and we would have to leave the space at like 1 a.m. because I was getting attacked. And I didn't know it. But I had all these voices that were paralyzing me saying, you should kill yourself. And I thought, oh, I'm just having a nightmare. Oh my God. Now I'm like, oh my God. Having had multiple entity attachments, having had a lot of false light shape-shifting beings interdimensionally who are saying one thing, coercing me to believe another. Like I have taken the reality of what it's like to be advancing spiritual being in an interdimensional war, and then opened up my heart and allowed God to go that way. Yeah. Like that's what it really is how can I take all of these hardships and lessons that God is using to make me someone extraordinary with the character and the embodiment and the heart in the right place. Yeah. And then can I open up to allowing myself to receive the way He wants me to bring it through? 100%. Because ultimately, I think the real strategy, at least in business, in my personal perspective, is more so about allowing yourself to go, this feels right. Okay, why didn't that work? Okay, well, maybe I'll just tweak that a little bit. Let me try again. Oh, I got a few more, but that didn't totally feel good. Why? Strategy is really about kind of following those intuitive hits and allowing yourself to keep going swiftly as things always feel unknown and you're always outside of your comfort zone. But what anchors you out of interference and into discernment and the right connection with God is being able to feel what feels right and true and allow God to constantly be that guiding light that says, nope, yes, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah. I love that you shared this, because one of the things, and interference comes in so many forms.
So many forms.
There's the literal forms of all the attacks, all the negativity. To put this into context for anybody watching and listening, interference can come in the form of family members. It could come in the form of work situations, business, anything.
Where it's the closest to what is holding the most emotional weight to you. Yeah.
And, one of the things that I've seen is a lot of people in the spiritual community keep saying, I'm confused. I need more clarity. I can't do this yet.
What's the next step?
Because we need more. I'm still transmuting. I'm still going through yet another, add whatever your word is. And I see this in faith communities too. Because ultimately, when I think about it, we are all on one big plane, and there's just giant warfare happening everywhere. What would you say to that? Like, for me, confusion, the Bible says confusion is not of the spirit.
Yes.
It is demonic. Confusion, doubt, not of the spirit. So whenever I feel that, I'm like, okay, go die. Like, literally, go die there. Respectfully. I'm going to take a moment and pray. And I know what I need to do, but I need to get rid of this spirit of confusion. So what would you say to someone that is constantly they find themselves in that cycle?
So the first thing is you gotta do the work to learn how to hear your own soul. That is so important. The only reason why you feel confused is because you're not in the right relationship with your soul. The reason why you feel doubt is because you're not in the right relationship with your soul. The only way that one will ever be able to hear their soul is through stillness. You need to quiet the noise. You need to sit there in the discomfort, because in stillness is where you can truly hear. That has to be step one. The only reason why confusion happens is because, one, you want more information than what you presently have. So you're creating this, I think I'm confused, because you don't have what you want yet, and you don't know why you don't have what you want yet. So then you're creating confusion about it. And then the doubt will come in when you've either made a big decision and things haven't been working out the way you thought that they would, or you're where you are right now and you know you need to be bigger than where you are and things are not working out yet and you haven't taken that courageous step yet. So then you feel that internal doubt. Either way, the remedy is always about God, I ask that you show me the truth and make it so obvious I cannot miss it. I feel the spirit of confusion. I feel the spirit of doubt. And I know that while those are human things to experience, I know that I am fortified by your will here on earth. I know that my mission is here to do insert. And at this time, I pray over the truth to show me exactly what my next step is. And until then, I will wait. I will pray. I will be open to receive. I will enjoy my life and know that when it is meant for me, it will not pass me. It will be here and I will receive it with an open heart and I will take that inspired action towards it swiftly. That's what also makes people confused. They sit there and they stew on something that they already know is intuitively there. And then they're like, oh, well, maybe this, maybe finances, maybe this, maybe that.
Or maybe I'm just going to go buy every masterclass, every program.
Maybe I just
work with like every other healer or whatever. Insert whatever it is your vice is. Guilty as charged. I've been there, done that.
Me too.
Until I stopped doing it.
Me too.
For the last 2 years, I was like, period, point blank, we're done.
Because I was looking for something in them that I needed to be able to find in myself. Marketing. How do I say this lightly?
Don't say it lightly.
Okay. The reason why you think you need to hire somebody for marketing is because you're not being authentic to who you are. When you're being authentic to who you are, you do not need somebody to market to help you find your value. You know your value. When it comes to selling, needing somebody to help you sell is because you're in the wrong relationship with understanding how to invite people into the value of what God is offering.
Yeah.
The only time you're ever guessing about sales is because, one, you don't understand that money is oxygen and oxygen is life. You're holding on to and you need to, and then just simply invite people into the beauty of transformation that you're providing people. Like marketing and sales, I don't believe that you need to invest in somebody to be able to help you understand that.
No.
It comes down to authenticity and conviction. And those are two things you need to find within the spirit.
Yeah.
Your soul has its own authentic blueprint. Your soul is already convicted about the work you need to do on this planet and how you can authentically transfer that knowledge and wisdom and invite people to receive it. There's no need to, and then what do I do so that I can message and market, so that I can sell the right people to come? How do I convert leads? Like, excuse me, is there a bucket? Like, I just want to vomit into the bucket. Like, convert leads? Ew. We are here to invite souls to remember more of who they truly are and to give them the pieces of information that helps them be free.
Yeah.
It's an invitation. It's a soul contract. It's not like, how do I get 100 people into my masterclass? That's just superficial. That's just ego. How do I invite people into the type of transformation that is going to allow them to be spiritually free? That's a totally different vibration.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, the message that God has put on your heart to share.
Totally.
You know who you are. You know what your medicine is. You know everything that you're here to do.
Yeah, because you know it's not it.
Yeah.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel when you're forcing something. You can feel when someone's message really resonates with you, and you can feel when it kind of doesn't really. But then you let the spirits of allure of money, of perceived success, of seeming happiness, right? Of greater health, of greater relationship. You let the spirit of temptation give away your sovereignty.
Yep.
And the next thing you know, you're looking to all these other people about how do I, and how about this, and how about this. I don't believe that people are meant to work with me for a long time. I believe people are meant to work with me to restore their faith, to clear lifetimes of recurring reincarnation traps that they have been in, so I can set them spiritually free, and then to learn the right, refined way of accessing their unique gifts so that they say, thank you, Victoria, you helped me remember who I truly am. That's it.
I love that.
You know, there's not like, and then I want to funnel them into blah, 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 blah. Like,
no, you want them to go out and thrive out there. And if they choose to stay beyond that, that's good. That's
fantastic.
They're choosing that, right? That's amazing. Yeah.
There's amazing. Like a shift of perspective that I feel like I went through because I had learned from a lot of business coaches about funnels and sales and marketing and messaging. And I've kind of tasted all of them. And I feel like every time I leaned into it, I gave a part of my way away.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. Just a little. All that works because she was able to sell, you know, this, that. Oh, well, the way she marketed was speaking to this. Like, you got to get rid of all of that.
Yeah.
Too many cooks in the kitchen as a healer is a for sure way to stay confused and in doubt. So kind of looping back here, like, what would I say to somebody who's confused or in doubt? Like, how often are you connecting to the information that's going on in here without an agenda, without a camera? Because, you know, people love to show you like they're crying.
I can't stand that. I can't.
Hold on.
I'm going to put my camera in the document. No.
Any raw experience you're truly in is not for the gram. And I know that we're trying to like blend into this like heart-centered way of showing the world like I'm a leader, but you can also lead by example without performatism, you know?
No,
but
I feel that. I feel that even with prayer and like, you know, people praying like while on camera. And I'm like, I don't need to see. Respectfully, I love that you study the word or want to share it, but I don't need to see your morning routine daily. If you're doing it to inspire someone, whatever, great. But if you're doing it out of performance, check yourself.
Yeah. You can tell.
You can. It's an energy.
It is. It's a feeling of they're kind of hooking for validation. Yeah. Versus, here's how I know.
Like if you share a quote or if you share a passage that you're reading from the Bible, whatever, great.
But not
because
like, watch that's how you me start in this your process.
Day. But don't watch me in my prayer, because when I'm praying, that is my sacred space. Yeah. That is where I go and I pray veiled. I pray in my space. I just sit and in my prayer is not even like me going inside a church or me going and sitting somewhere. It's me nursing my kid. And as I'm nursing him, I'm like, thank you, God. blah, blah, saying the Lord's Prayer. I'm doing those things then in a very human way.
Yes.
As opposed to, go to church every Sunday. Go observe this holiday and that holiday. And I see the same parallels in the spiritual
Totally. It's
community.
just a different ritual, right?
Yeah.
It's just a different ritual. They're not praying to God, but they're praying to these middlemen of spirits and different deities. And I also want to note, I work with beings for a living. Yeah. I channel beings for a living. The only difference is they're not replacing a relationship with God.
Exactly.
Part one. And part two, the relationship with them is a work-based relationship.
Yeah.
They're on contract to serve me. They do not have more power over me. And also, they are there to facilitate greater transformation for the planet, for the work that I do. That's it. I'm not using beings to glorify myself as spiritually cool, if you will. It's not it's not a badge of honor for me. It's actually something that has made me quite insecure, because it's hard to be accepted for the work that I do in the truest form of the way that I do it. And I want to speak to anybody who does very deep root cause work and has a hard time being accepted by family, has a hard time being accepted by their community, has a hard time really opening up their throat chakra and saying, this is what I do. I get it.
Yeah.
It is still deep within me. I feel like I'm still coming out of my spiritual closet and saying, hey, I experienced psychic warfare. Hey, I also channel a lot of beings. Hey, I do this work for my clients where I destroy demonic forces. It's this edge of being able to own the most vulnerable part. And a good friend said to me recently, what you feel in terms of really feeling very vulnerable in sharing yourself out of the spiritual closet, if you will, that is so normal for psychics and spirits who are very advanced. Yeah. That is your most raw form, right? I'm a hybrid being, very advanced hybrid being who came here on planet Earth to destroy demons, to restore them to their natural path, to work in direct connection with God and other extraterrestrial beings, to bring a higher frequency on Earth. Imagine sitting in front of your parents and saying that.
Yeah.
Or imagine sitting in front of your high school teacher. Imagine sitting in front of the person that, you hated in high school. There's different edges to kind of coming out of this closet of really owning the full technicolor of your spiritual experience. And I want to name that and note that for those who are extremely powerful, who do really deep work, that it's okay if it takes time to come out of the closet. As a queer presenting woman, myself being with a trans person, it feels very similar to coming out, where I thought it was going to be and then I'm dating a woman, who's now transgender. And there's an entire agenda against my partner. And you're all basically holding really hijacked frequencies about it. And you should really love to hear Hayden's perspective. All of those moments, they were different edges based on who I was talking to, the environment, and how much distortion was in that particular environment. And it's okay to find your way through the closet, and find what feels right for you at this time to kind of express that. Because I found the deeper the root cause work that you do, one, the harder it is to explain.
Yeah.
And two, the harder it is almost in some ways for you to accept that is who you are. Cellularly, it, but being able to this is my elevator pitch when I'm talking to somebody who has no idea who I am or what I do. This is who I am. That takes time to accept the depth of who you truly are.
That's how I feel.
Me too. Me too. It's
as I hear you talk, I'm whoa, that's how I feel.
Because it's so vulnerable to be this is what I do.
Because when people ask me, what do you do? And it just got safe to say, oh, I write. Oh, I do, the whole thing of whatever I do. But when I think of it, I'm I'm not writing. I'm getting into your freaking head.
Yeah.
I'm going into it's not my gift. God gave me this gift.
Yes.
God gave me the ability. My grandma came to me on my 13th birthday. And that's how I knew she passed, in my dream. I have always been spoken to by God in my dreams.
You've prophesized every big thing that's happened in my business.
I know.
For listeners, it's crazy.
It's God's gift.
I always ask you to talk over my business for me.
I
so
pray.
You can prophesize over it. Yes.
I just pray. Like every client I receive, I pray with them. I pray for my clients. I pray for the people in my life. And God has given me that spirit of intercession and just being able to pray and over people and for people.
Yes.
And so I always tell people this power of life and death is in your freaking tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, be careful what you say.
Yep.
Like, guard your heart, number one. So discernment, guard your heart. Be careful what you say. When people ask me, how do you do what you do? Like, what do you do? I'm like, well, okay, 3D terms or very non, artistic or spiritual terms. I work in marketing. I'm a photographer. I do blah, blah, blah. Oh, things that you can box yourself around. But that is not what I do. What I do is I get you into your heart and into your body. What I do is I bring out your expression, and then I'm seeing how God wants to move in your life and where God wants to move in your business. And then I'm like, well, hey, this is what's coming through. I bet you I can't tell that.
Yeah.
Like, that shit scares me.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I can talk to you because you get it.
Well, we've
get
been
it,
through in the business, we've been like, okay, something's off. Like, the skill set and what I'm feeling are not adding up. So let's have a conversation about it. Because, like, just for context, Tia's been working in the company for well over...
It'll be 2 years this September.
Okay, 2 years since September. And we have went through multiple shifts. When I first hired her, she was doing like bespoke content for me. Now, for those of you who know human design, I'm a 3/5. So the moment that I post something, I'm already over it. So for Tania to like repurpose my content and put it out, it felt like looking at old pictures of you as a child and going, oh God, I wore that. That's what it felt like. So it wasn't T's fault, but I remember us having a conversation and saying, hey, this doesn't work for me. Let's try something else. And we kind of manipulated it until here we are in 2025. And I said to her, I don't think that I want you writing the copy for the company, not because I don't think you're an extraordinary copywriter, but because I feel like you're not playing to your full potential. And we had this really beautiful moment of you recognizing and seeing yourself in creative direction. And now here we are doing our first creative direction underneath this like new shift inside of the business where...
I know. Like, we did it in October, but I wasn't fully there yet.
No, we hadn't made that. We
hadn't made the shift.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And the thing is, even when I think back to my time, I'm like, I've always been this kid with a mic in my hand and a camera in the hand and like writing or just connecting to the heart of people.
Yes.
And I've just really loved directing.
Yep.
But somehow, somewhere along the way, we get distorted.
Yep.
And we forget the true calling that God has put.
Yep. Because we don't think we'll get paid for it.
Well, that.
You know, it's like we don't think that people will get it, and we don't think that it can actually be something that's monetizable. So over time, we end up going...
Right? And I feel like a lot of healers, body workers, energy workers, they feel like that.
Totally.
Right? Because it's like, well, who's going to pay for something intangible?
Yep.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like, that's how I felt. Like, I mean, that's what people projected to me about arts, about arts-based education.
Totally.
Who's going to pay you for writing? Who's going to pay you to just take photos or videos? And I'm like, are you joking? My clients fly me around right now to do exactly this.
Yeah, because the right clients understand art. And art is not something that needs to be explained. And yet I believe that art is the new earth way.
Yeah.
Being able to allow that artist to come online where I have great business skills. I know how to build a brand. Infusing those together and then bringing in the nature lover, super simple, like kind of spiritual gangster version of me who loves to wear comfy clothes and just like snuggle with her partner and like I'm a very human, and then weaving in the hybrid, you know? I am like this.
She is fried food for days, guys.
Dude, fried food at least 4 days a week, you know? And you know, some great psychics I know, they're like, I literally eat like pizza and fries. And people would be like, what? You know, like, don't drink piss and green juice. I'm like, why would I do that to myself? I am on earth to enjoy this vessel. And this vessel will tell me when it doesn't want chicken wings. I'll tell you, it will my butthole will tell me when it doesn't want chicken wings. You know, it's like, healers deserve to be bare minimum millionaires. And I know this might be controversial because
it's not.
There's been a lot of messages I've received in the past of people being like, you shouldn't get paid to be a healer. I'm like, yeah, but what are you doing for a living? Well, why can't we be service providers when we are sincerely some of the most, if not the most significant service providers in the world? Because we cannot fake how we're truly feeling. I could put AirPods in, listen to dirty fantasy shows while I'm inside of a cubicle for 9 hours a day. I have to sleep well, eat intuitively, not get in big arguments, not talk to family in terms of having hard conversations with them before I go into the spiritual work. I need to stretch and relax and take care of my nervous system, keep things light pretty much all the time, not a lot of consumption of the wrong things so I can do the work that I do. Yeah. Why should I not be paid at least $1 million for what I do?
Yeah.
You know, we deserve to be paid very well, and we deserve to honor ourselves very well. But I think adding in the fact that we don't know how to explain what we do, which then feels like, well, it's not tangible. So if it's not tangible, then how do I sell something that's not tangible? I'm like, well, you need to find what your tangible transformation is, because it exists in there. It's just probably underneath all the discomfort of how other people told you, this is that job, and this is that job, and this is that job, and this is that job, right? On paper, I'm a psychic development teacher and energy healer. Underneath all of that, I help you unlock your unique gifts, and I do demonic removal, and I do generational curse clearing, and I do past life activation. Like all of the nuances underneath, the world doesn't need to know until they're in my world. But the transformations, the main transformations are there, and we have to find that. We have to find that. For you, it's creative direction. Once we kind of found like, what is that? You're like, you know how to be able to bring the depth of someone's true soul brand understanding to life. Once we got there, that's tangible. Now we just need to find the right way to be able to share that with the world. And also, you dang well deserve to be paid at least 7 figures for what you do in the world, because $1 million is not a lot of money.
So that's not in today's world. How you feel about healers, like that's how I feel for artists, for creative. I mean,
totally.
We're both, right? And I feel like if you're a body worker, like my massage therapist has not been in town for 2 months.
And you're like, where are you?
I'm dying because it's energetic. Everything is energetic. Like I could not do this work if my energy is not clean. The crew, Daniel and Omar, they couldn't do what they do if they're not taking care of their mind, body, soul, vessel, whatever your practice is. So I do believe, like, as creatives, as artists, as healers, like we do get to be paid well for what we do.
It's oxygen that keeps the life of the vision going. It's not even beyond it's $1 million. It's big oxygen that allows a big vision to come to life. That's really all it is. And anyone who runs a business that's $1 million will tell you that they put all that back into their company 100%. Anyway. So it's profit temporarily, and then it goes back into regenerating the company. So it's really not even like profit you're taking home. You're living usually on a salary, and that salary is quite limited. So it can keep the flow going. Most people live within their means and make a lot of money in the company. Right? But that company money allows you to be able to keep God's vision going.
And stewarding it. I love that. I love that riff.
I love a great riff.
I know.
I thought that was really beautiful.
What role, I mean, we've probably touched on this, but what role does intuition play in your business decisions and leadership style?
Oh my God, everything.
Because I feel like intuition is like the heart of the healer.
Totally.
And then the leadership is like the more masculine because you're leading in that forefront, right?
The intuition is the why, and the leadership is the how.
Okay.
So this is the hit. We're building the sovereign healer. Okay, how? Boom, we go, we lead. It's a big edge for a lot of healers, is being able to get from I have that hit to then I act. You have to move fast. It's one of the best pieces of advice I can give. Move faster than the doubt and move faster than the confusion. When you feel the hit, if the money is there, go. Trust yourself. I'm not saying be reckless. You know your own tolerance, but you need to start to challenge that risk tolerance. The issue people get into is they've been told, go all in. So that means go all in beyond your nervous system, which is not what I'm saying. I'm saying open up to what your intuition is telling you. And if the resources are there, God is telling you, I've given you life here. Circulate it.
Yeah.
And follow that intuition fast. And then when you do that, I can build that new identity, build that new reality, build that new dream around that intuitive hit. And then I can bring in more of that abundance for you. So I never make moves unless they're intuitively based. Yeah. But I also don't wait so long that I doubt if my intuition is accurate.
Yeah.
But that's why I have the Sovereign Healer method, because I know how to be able to ground back into my own energy, clear the projections of others, hear what's going on in my own heart, call in my teams of spirit, get instant guidance about what that step is. And then we go. And then even though it might look, bleak financially, or it's a big move, or I'm scared, which all of those seem to work at the same time, unfortunately, when you're on the cusp of something extraordinary, right? It's like, whoa, I'm feeling strapped. This is going to be a big move. I'm afraid. That's the definition of all in.
Yeah.
But that all in, when it's marketed as all in, people think that they need to invest outside of their nervous system before they did it, which is not what I'm trying to teach here. What I'm trying to teach is it comes from the intuition first. Yeah. That's the direction. Then if the life is there, the finances are there, follow it.
Yeah.
And trust in God's provision in your life. Because if he provided now, he's going to provide again.
Yeah.
That's how creation is created. If it's here now, it's going to be here now later. You just have to trust from here to here later and move.
Exactly.
And move, right? And then because you're following your own intuition, not because someone told you need to go all in if you want to build a 7-figure company, then now you're starting to understand the true definition of all in, which is, in my opinion, I am committed no matter what to seeing through this vision. Whether I have $0 temporarily, whether I'm going through challenges in my life temporarily, whether it seems like nothing is working out temporarily, I'm all in for God. Yeah. Not I'm all in to run a 7-figure company.
No, because that's not going to ground you, and that's not going to do
No, because everything reminds you that you're there or you're farther from.
Yeah.
I'm there for God. And I'm there all in for God. If God has to teach me the lessons about money, okay. If God has to teach me the lessons about health, fine. God has to teach me the lessons about clients who overstep my boundaries, who reek of evil, so I can, grow my discernment. Let's get it going. Like, that's what all in means. It's not, this is going to be great. Let me follow my intuition so I can make all this buck. No. A lot of those people are very off their spiritual true paths because they're going for deception of money. They're going for deception of fame, fortune, financial freedom, right? Somewhere in the Bible, it talks about how money or wealth cannot be the center of your focus.
No.
Right? It cannot be. God is the center.
Yeah.
And then he builds everything around it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's all in because the intuitive hit is God.
Yeah.
This is the direction. Fantastic. Let's go. Faster in between here and here there. And then God builds the identity around it where more of the prosperity comes in. So in short, intuition is how you build the life of your dreams. That's in integrity with your soul.
I love that. I love that so much. It's don't build for the love of money. And money is not evil. Money is actually a beautiful resource.
Totally. It's freedom.
It is.
It is.
Just build because for the love of God, build literally and metaphorically, build because God gave you that command to go build.
Yes. And know that financial security will be promised.
Yep.
But
you got to obey.
Yes, that's exactly what I was just about to say.
All of this comes down to obedience because, can I share what happened on Thursday?
Let's go.
Okay, so Thursday, I totally didn't even realize it was the spring equinox.
Yeah.
Hella emotional day, whatever, and it wasn't emotional because it was a bad day. I just was like, I need to process. We need to let this go.
Yep.
We need to go where I'm being called to go, and we need to let this shit go. To your example of intuition will speak, God will speak to you. And then the moment you decide to completely surrender and answer the call, clarity, everything comes through so beautifully. Yeah. I'm not joking. I was up working. It was midnight-ish because that was my work sprint. I was up working in the night. And in a span of between 12 to 3 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Complete 360 thing. I'm messaging my operations assistant. I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm going to burn the company down, but here's what we are burning down. Boom, 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 boom. Here's the clarity. Here's blah, blah, blah. Here's what's happening here. I know exactly what I need to do and we're going.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. It was just a shift. And it didn't even take that long for me to like move through it. I'm like, okay, this is getting really loud. It's getting loud to the point I can't ignore it.
Yep.
And I was seeing confirmations. God will send you messages through so much. And you teach that too inside the Sovereign Healer. And I was like, I know what I need to do. I don't need yet another sign. But you know, sometimes I feel like I'm like Thomas in the Bible, like doubting Thomas almost.
I haven't read that.
I don't doubt, but it's like, God, I just need one more sign. Just please, pretty please with a cherry on top. Just tell me one more time. I just need that reassurance, God, you know? So I kept seeing these like passages from the Bible and I'm like, okay, they all say obey, 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 obey. And then there's another one that said, I've provided for you before. What makes you think I won't provide for you now? And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? And then I'm seeing like content from like 2 or 3 content creators. I love their stuff. Oh, by the way, here's what's not going away. What we're doing. Thought leadership, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, it's done. It is done. It is complete. I was laughing. I was just laughing at how God speaks.
Yeah, because you got to wait until the road is clear.
Yeah, and like speaking about timing, because it's like, I always, you know, to your point of timing, sometimes you can have all the visions given to you ahead, but part of that is also knowing how to steward them, waiting for the right time to initiate them, because it's not that it's not ready, it's that you're not ready and you haven't become.
Yes. And when you understand how God works, God doesn't work about giving you what you want. It gives you what you need. So you can become what you need. Then you can take even the hardest life circumstance and still see God in it. I remember when my back started to really hurt and the first thing I did was go, F you, God. And then I was like, okay, sorry. I was like, wait. I love you. You still love me, right? Let me just backpedal for a second here. And I was like, why is this for me? Why is this for me? And as I sat deeper, it was like, because you have a support team of like 16 people and you still have a narrative inside of you that you're doing this alone. How is it possible that you can have the greatest relationship, the most extraordinary family, the best team, the best friends you've ever had, a good relationship with your family, and you're still thinking that you're alone? This is why you have a bad back. Not because God's upset with you and God's punishing you. No, God is teaching you your foundation is not honest to what I have given you. So now I need to show you, hey, you are supported. Hey, you are loved. Hey, you're not doing this path as a starseed, blah, 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 all by yourself. This narrative is not reality. Are you going to recognize you have massive overhead in your company that I've made you do so that you can have this village? Or are you going to always come back to this internalized narrative that you're always the one that's holding all of this and you're the one that has to do it all by yourself and this, that? You've chosen to follow me. You can fire everybody on your team, go live in a yurt with your partner, leave the house that you have, scale down and minimize all of your overhead. You've chosen to follow and obey. If you're going to choose to follow and obey, then open your eyes and heart to notice all of the ways that I am supporting you right now, because I am. And when I started to do that, then I started to notice not only the acceptance of the circumstance I was in, that was not perfect, but it was reality. And then 2, I let go of the shame. I'm a healer who is navigating low back pain. It's okay. I'm not a bad healer because I'm navigating low back pain from a deadlift that happened 10 years ago. And that my childhood story of abandonment has been with me my whole life, that I can have 100 people in a room and still feel alone. Like, it's okay. You're allowed to do extraordinary work and still be working on yourself. It's not, I'm perfect and that's how you know that I am the one who's guiding the light. Like I said, none of us are Jesus. I'm Victoria Josephine Pipo, who's been in this work for 5 years, who's grown her gifts so fast. And my body is just still catching up. But the Sovereign Healer Way has allowed me to be able to navigate what I'm going through sovereignly. I'm healing. And guess what? I'm still able to do the work that I do in integrity because I know what's going on internally. I know where my no is. I know where my yes is. And that's the best I can do. You know, a lot of healers go through physical challenge. I want to kind of mention this
Yeah.
before maybe we take a little bit of a break here. A lot of psychics go through these physical ailments or these physical challenges on the way to becoming extraordinarily sovereign, because a lot of psychics and very gifted people come with a lot of karmic energy when they come on planet Earth. Advanced souls with the desire to be retired from incarnating on Earth and knowing that we are preparing our equipment, right, for a very challenging Earth walk. And as we're raising in frequency on this planet, the body is like acting up in very interesting, unique ways. Anxiety that was never there before, ailments that were never there before, exacerbation of previous injuries that were never there before. The body is trying to adjust to higher light. And as long as what we are doing feels right and safe and just and true based on where our body's limits are, and we are prioritizing meeting our basic needs over the needs of the world.
Yeah.
And we're always checking in with where our internal signal is of like, am I on my amber light? Am I on my green light? Am I at my red light? And knowing what that is. And then I believe that we're not just another healer who is doing this work while we're breaking down more and more and more. What's happening in my body is not necessarily that I'm breaking down, but I'm building up a new energetic infrastructure where my belief systems are strong, that I am supported and I'm loved.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening, right? So internally, a lot of our karmic information as highly advanced souls is breaking down, and in that the body is showing us different things somatically. Yeah. And we're meeting that. And as we're meeting that and we're integrating that, more light can enter. And so how we make sure that we continue to ascend while the body is going through its upgrades is know your red, your amber, and your green light. Always continue to meet your needs and know that it's not shameful that the body is going through things. The body is going through things because your spirit is growing and glowing into things. And that's okay.
That. Yeah.
You know, it's like glow as you grow, but know that the growth that's happening in your body, as long as you're checking in with yourself, you can continue to do your work in integrity and in sustainability. And navigating this now is going to allow you to be able to do it for the future time to come.
I love that. I love that so much. We were just having this conversation of you can't resonating with what you saw in an episode with the Diary of a CEO. If you choose your mental health, you're not going to be able to do something extraordinary. Said by Mr. Beast himself. And as you said, that landed, that resonated. And to bring this into context for healers, artists, creatives, the archetypes that you actually work with. I see, and I have seen and worked with a lot of them who have let things like the void, yet another something happening, stop them dead in their tracks from opening up their gifts or sharing their leadership. What would you say to someone who's in that space right now?
You got to keep moving. And they might not be significant steps. They're usually not when you're in those spaces, but it's little things that keep meeting your basic needs that keep the energy flow going.
Yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily believe we're always in a void.
I don't.
I just believe that God is using us for different journeys and different stories that he wants to move through us. And sometimes we just have a little bit less information in the moment than we did previously. The only difference that we kind of call it a void is maybe we don't have all the income that's flowing in, or there's been a slowdown of clients, or there's been a slowdown of inspiration, or there's been a slowdown of, creative connection. Whatever that is, I don't know that I necessarily call that a void, because when we call that a void, our first instinct is to go, well, let me just sit in it.
Yeah.
I've never just sat in a void.
Nope, neither have I.
I have always prayed in the void and opened myself up to everyday confirmations, validations that I'm on the right path, and then allowing that to keep my heart space open. In the times that we are in what seems like less information, this is when I believe we hear God the most. When it's the most intimate, when you're the most vulnerable, when there's the least amount of information, you can either become desperate or connected. If you choose to be desperate, This is when you're looking for more because this, that, and maybe someone else has the secret. And how do I keep going? And da-da-da-da. You fill it with more noise because you're not comfortable sitting in what is. Or you can pray and connect over why you're changing information and ask for particular confirmations and validations and keep your eyes open, right? Void makes people go, and void needs to make people go.
Yeah.
And don't lose movement. Yeah. That's the thing is, I think a big contributor of continued success is the ability to know that you're always kind of between where you are and where you're meant to go all the time. So technically you're always in a void.
Yeah.
And who you are by constantly moving, either moving towards desperation or moving towards deeper interconnection, will determine how much you continue to succeed. Or you give up and call it failure.
Yeah.
Most businesses end up giving up because either lack of cash flow or lack of results, or both. I'm okay with having no cash flow and also no results because I know that just means I'm about to have a lot of cash flow and a lot of results, right? Yep. The only difference is how do I hold myself so I don't become more desperate in what seems like the void when it's really God just positioning me for exactly what I am asking for, but bigger.
100%. Like there have been times where I felt like, to go back to like that statement that you heard that you resonated with.
Yeah.
You could be moving through the most absolute darkest shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Like for me, it was suicidal thoughts. It was literally suicide ideation.
Yep.
To that point, you've gotten there too, like with the psychic attacks, whatever. And it was at that time, I was methodically like, okay. I just knew I'm like, okay, when it's my time, I know exactly how I'm going to exit this world, realm, whatever. Blah, blah. But on the surface, there was applying for jobs still because guess what? Responsibilities don't wait and don't care that you're in a void.
Yep.
They don't care that you're having a literal mental health breakdown.
Yes.
Or that, insert whatever your big thing is.
Yep.
And it was in that moment or in that week that I was applying for all these jobs. And I was almost getting hired for them too. And then God sends me 5 clients. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're building this way.
Yep. You just have to show that you have will.
Yeah.
And you were showing, yes, I'm planning to end my life, but I'm also very clearly willing for a greater reason to live. Yeah. And in the time where I've had a psychic attack and very intense suicidal ideation, I was also open to receive a miracle in my life. It's when we lose our will that we lose a way for God to open up that path for us. And with really, really gifted people who have felt ostracized, who have felt confused in their uniqueness, like have not been able to find where their role kind of fits in modern day society. It's very important to note that mental health will be a conversation that you will have to constantly address because you're not going to access the full potential that you came here to by using the very linear reptilian mind that created the separation we see on this planet today. You have to I don't want to say you have to transcend your mind because it's not that, but you have to overcome the linear aspect of the mind and open yourself up to visualization and imagination and potentiality and possibility. Because to do the work that we do in channeling, in clearing root cause and going very deep into somatic trauma in somebody's body, to helping somebody clear generations of interference, to, channeling beings, whatever it is, whatever someone's unique abilities are, you will have to, 1, cope with the fact that you will probably entertain negative issues with mental health in your journey. And that is going to propel you to overcome the limitations of the mind should you use those times of void, if you will, where mental health can so easily decline, to stay connected to the why and the greater plan of God's unique design for your life. But I think mental health is something that, 1, I'm so thankful that more people are talking about in the world, but 2, I don't believe that the success that I have had in my life has happened because of a balanced mental health. I think it's become because of being insanely delusional,
Yep.
with all odds stacked against me, nobody necessarily believing in me except my mother and my sister, and them, in a lot of ways, kind of unconsciously extracting energy from me because they were living vicariously through my journey. And then ultimately having to unhook myself and find who I truly am in the world, and how that's so differed from who I thought I was going to be, and how hard that is on a human level to accept not being confined or belonging to a certain, I guess, group. Like, I don't even know that I necessarily resonate with the spiritual community. Like,
no, you don't. I don't.
Or the queer community,
Yep.
right? It's like,
Yep.
I can't even hang out with gay people because I don't really resonate with like a lot of the reasons, that they're fighting for equality while their hypocrisies over here. Like, I can't handle hypocrisy. Even though I study the Bible, I love the Bible, I can't walk into a church and see somebody who's standing on stage feeling hypocrisy from their energy.
Yep.
I can't handle, dealing with all the spiritual community stuff where it feels like everybody's seeking, but nobody's sovereign. And now it's like, well, what's the point? Are we here to seek all the information? Or are we here to be sovereign beings and co-creators with the original architecture of this planet? And so I still don't belong, even though I could fit into all these different communities, because I do not believe that being in your unique abilities will require you to fit into a certain faction or community. I believe that God says, no. You could go if you want to fit in and find your way there. Yeah. And it's going to be hard on your mental health to go a completely different path, but I'm going to fortify you with my will.
Yes.
I'm going to show you the way. And if you trust in me and you have trust in you, who you are as a human, know that you're going to get through it. You're going to be okay. You've got your own back. You're going to create a completely new community, if you will. And it's going to be centered around uniqueness and not fitting into anything. But I think you have to compromise the comfort of your mind. Always. Always. But God's will help you know that what you're doing is right and just and true. And so you're going to be okay.
100%. I love that so much. And on that note, what I would love to touch on, or what I would love for you to touch on really, is there are so many healers that are right now rising up in their voice and their gifts, their creativity, whatever. And what advice would you have for healers right now who are stepping into their power and leadership in this time right now as we speak?
Do it scared. I am petrified of what I feel like I am going against in my message. To feel like I need to talk about discernment in a world where it is so much easier to talk about unity consciousness. To talk about psychic protection when we're existing in a reality where we can create our own reality. I feel internally a lot to process around what God is asking me to share, because if we create our own reality, then isn't protection something that's negative? And if it's negative, then why would I, say I need protection? Or if we all come from God, then why would I hold on to separation? Like, those are very ingrained spiritual beliefs that have been indoctrinated in my own system in the beginning of my awakening. And they just feel so wrong and fragmented, which is cosmically hilarious because they're teaching about unification.
I know.
The greatest light workers I know are dark workers. The greatest light workers I know expose darkness on this planet.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
They don't work with evil, but they expose darkness. And so a lot of times people who do that will end up, I guess, by the eye of the mainstream spiritual community, seem like they're spreading judgment, fear, ego, right? And misinformation. No, they're not. They're just highlighting the real deception. They've done enough internal work to recognize what this plane is actually about. They've integrated enough of their shadow to recognize that the world doesn't need more airy-fairy. It needs more honesty.
Yep.
And that's the bravest thing someone can do. Do it scared. Because the truth is, you're going to be so afraid to pave a new path, because it feels like you have something that you're going against. And it's true. In every great brand, there is an enemy. Mm-hmm. My enemy is the New Age community, because my enemy in the New Age community keeps people reckless, disassociated and disconnected from their sovereignty while they think that they're transcending this 3D reality. That's my enemy.
Yeah.
And you have to do it afraid, and you have to do it now, because when you shed light on that darkness, it transcends and alchemizes and transmutes. And in my opinion, those are the real light workers that are coming out of the woodworks right now. Not those that are fitting the same spiritual mainstream narrative that has been thus far in our awakening journey, but those that are like, we're in an interdimensional war.
Yeah.
We're navigating deceptive forces. Are you taking care of this? Have you considered this? A true light worker operates under the understanding that in order to change the world, we have to have something that we are changing. And in order to do that, you're going to be against something. But it's really because you're for something else.
And, you know, there's that saying where if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Totally.
And everything. And I feel like that's rampant in the spiritual community, in communities where, I don't care, like whether it's yoga, retreats, healing. Like, can we talk about retreats and like all of these things? Because a large part of your work, I feel like your body of work is on basically eradicating interference completely. So, you know, I'm not a fan of half of the retreats that are happening. Like, I'm not a fan of it.
Yep.
And I'm not a fan of it because people go in being sold one thing.
Yep.
And they think that they're going to find the holy freaking grail inside of a retreat, and they're going to be cured or healed in one retreat.
Yep.
But they come out 10 times worse than before. And it doesn't happen all of a sudden. It's a bleed through that happens over the course of months, years. Could we talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
What would you, there's so many people selling retreats right now, and my entire feed is full of them. And it's being marketed everywhere. What would you say to someone that's hosting their very first retreat, or who has been to retreats but knows that something's not right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's start with those who've been to a retreat and feel like something isn't right. When you feel that feeling like something isn't right, you're usually dealing with some sort of external interference that has bled into a space, meaning there is something off psychically, interdimensionally within that particular space, whether it's the facilitator that you hired and then you went to the retreat and you saw their true colors. I've seen that a lot. Or you're dealing with other people in a space and you don't actually know their energy.
Yeah.
Right? You trusted the facilitator vets, which a lot of facilitators don't vet, which is kind of ironic. You just buy a ticket to go to like a breathwork facilitation event and you're like, now I'm laying in a group with hundreds of people who have all different types of different interferences, and now we're going to open up our energy centers. Like, gives me like the creeps to think about being in a room like that. Like, I can't even imagine being so reckless as to invest in something like that, unless the facilitator has, one, cleared their own interference, and two, psychically protected the ever-loving shit out of that space. So first, if you've been to a retreat and something feels off, either when you're there or after the experience that seems different than integrating something that happened there, I encourage you to reach out to somebody that you trust, or myself if that's somebody that you trust, so that someone can figure out, did something attach or latch to your energy at this particular retreat?
Wow.
Because entities, demons, and dark spirits are the most excited about the reckless new age spiritual leader who is leading or going to a retreat with interference, because it's a breeding ground. Evil beings want to grow in strength. They want to recruit and grow in size. So they want to get Tanya on board, Daniel on board, everybody in this space on board, so they can live off of all of your life force. In order to do that, if we're all vulnerable and nobody believes in protection, then what ends up happening is everybody's open to anything, like you said, because nobody thinks that anything is potentially not everything or part of the everything. And so therefore, maybe I have an attachment and your energy's open and it's vulnerable because you're emotionally processing something, and emotions are the latching point for external entities. Wow. So then it latches to your sacral chakra and then bleeds in. Daniel's going through a process, connects to his heart chakra, so on, so forth, so forth. And now it is living off of light cords or dark cords in your energy.
Oh my God.
And it's just come to eat, as disgusting as that is. And so that's part one, is if you feel like integration has turned into something that has become a dark spiral in your life that you feel like you can't get out of, hire myself or somebody you trust to look into and research and ultimately remove and destroy whatever that is from blocking your natural path. Now, if you're called to being a facilitator, I want you to know that your calling is valid, and it's one of the most important callings that anyone can have in terms of group work in these times. This is the age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
This is age of community. This is age of networking. This is age of the hyper consciousness. Therefore, if it's coming from the right place, which I'm talking to someone that it is, then you have to understand that being trauma informed and being interference informed are different things.
Yeah.
People are going to go through emotional processes when they are being received by you and when you're holding space for transformation. However, that's different than something foreign, external, and invasive coming into a space to try to latch, attach, or siphon life force from somebody. Yeah. Emotions are trauma-based and in this life. External entities are interdimensional, they are psychic, and they also bleed through multiple lives, different generations, and different timelines of your life. And very easily can connect to trauma, like I said, emotion, at any time. Especially if you're a very high vibrational being, because you're so sensitive. You feel everything. If you feel everything, that strength is your weakness pretty much always at the same time. And so this is not, again, to induce fear. Like I said, light workers are dark workers. So I'm only exposing the truth. If you feel that me sharing this seems like judgment, that's because of your own internalized judgment. If you feel that what I'm sharing feels like ego, that's because of your own ego. If you feel that what I'm sharing seems dark, it's just because you haven't looked at your own shadows. Like, what I'm sharing is pure, resolute truth. You can choose to accept it or deny it, but I encourage you to at least be open to it. So what does it mean to be interference informed when you're leading and facilitating a space? Well, it's learning how to be able to build a safe space psychically. We are inside of a new studio right now.
Yep.
None of us are opening up our energy, therefore we're all safe as far as we're all concerned. However, there should be protection protocols that are so strongly in place before anyone else arrives. As a facilitator, you are responsible for clearing the spirits in the space, clearing the vibrational dissonance in this space, protecting this space, commanding over energetic sovereignty in this space before anyone else walks in the door. I mean, let's not even forget, you better not have interference. Because if you have interference and people are trusting you, now you are already energetically compromised. So I think that hopefully goes without saying. You cannot have evil interference in your energy in any way if you want to be in integrity to your work. Yep. Then when people arrive and they're coming in for different processes, you need to have a process to psychically protect their energy. Clear their energy, make sure their energy is equipped for the work. And then when everybody's there and you're starting whatever practice you're going into, you need to know how to protect the space again, everybody in this space, and how to be able to pick up those subtle cues of interference. The final thing I'll say is one of the biggest things that happen is people will close down a meditation, but not close down people's energy. They don't know how to close down a space. So loopholes are open. Yep. Everybody's all connected. Everybody's hugging. Everybody's all so happy. Everybody's auras are now bleeding into each other and everybody's emotional and so sad because nobody's protected their energy, mind you, in this context here. And then everybody's auras are bleeding in together. They had all this emotional release. Everybody's in their strength, but also their weakness because they're very emotional. And when you are psychic and you're in your psychic strength, emotion is your weakness. You need to be in truth. In truth. Yeah. And so then everybody's auras, everybody's picking up everybody's fragments. Facilitator goes, that's so amazing. Take your time and integrate. And nobody is closed down. Everybody's energy centers, cleaned everybody's energy, closed down chakra by chakra by chakra, everybody's energy, including the facilitators, and closed down the entire space. So they leave loopholes. They leave things open, available for different forms of attack.
Wow. It's like, as you shared, and thank you so much for actually painting that complete picture.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Because my light bulbs were going off to like back in 2022 while I was still so entrenched in the new age and whatever. This was, I always had my faith and I always prayed, but my heart had become lukewarm, if you will, and hardened by lifing, if you will. Yeah. Right? So at one point, like I always prayed, but I wasn't fully there. And I always tell people this, in order for me to return home to God, to Christ, to my faith, I wandered. And I wandered so much in search of peace outside of me. Yep. That wandering took me to this full moon ceremony. I'll never forget that. It was September. It was that full moon or whatever. Anyway. And they were doing cacao. I like cacao. I love cacao just for like purely like the medicinal, like literally it's rich in magnesium and that helps.
Yes, absolutely.
It's fucking amazing. So they were doing cacao. So your heart's already open, right? Because it opens up the heart. Once you have that, they went into this, it was by the lake. Okay. And in open like backyard space, but open, right? Gorgeous. Everyone goes in, we're in this tent and everyone's like in this meditation. And this person, the facilitator, was invoking, I don't know, like this goddess and this angel and this
oh my God, I'm
person
cringing.
From this direction and blah, blah. It was this whole thing. And, you know, your body knows when something is not
right
of God, of truth for you. And I believe that was God just trying to be like, come home.
Revoke.
Get the fuck out of there. Yeah. And people are like already in it. I just heard this very clear voice, like, get up, walk out. Whoa. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, we getting up and we going. And she was like, are you okay? Stay, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I gotta go.
You left?
I left.
Wow.
Everyone else was there in that fucking thing. Huh. I left.
Huh. I've had that same thing
I
happen
left.
to me.
I'm like, she's like, are you sure? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm breathing. I'm alive. I'm good. I need to go. And I drove home. And I told you earlier, like God always speaks to me in my dreams. In my dreams, I'm seeing things. There are things that I've seen I cannot unsee. And that was just the first time that I would see that.
Wow.
And I could see people invoking all these presences, if you will. Yep. And it was not good. Yep. I was like, oh, okay.
I had the exact same thing happen to me. I was at a women's retreat. It was the first time I've ever been to a women's retreat. And actually, the only women's retreat I've ever been on. It was a part of a business coaching container.
Was that when you went to Mexico?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And this was around the time that I was still healing from all the entity stuff. They had been removed and destroyed, so I was safe to travel. I was not going to harm anybody. And there's this extraordinary woman that I would consider to be like an elder spiritual guide. And she was going to do a ceremony. And so all the women were sitting around, myself included. And we were all, I guess, prepping the space. And, you know, she said, if anybody in this space is not comfortable staying for everybody having a process, like, please step out. And instantly it was like, leave.
Wow.
And I stood up and I said, hey, whatever's about to go down here, I'm not comfortable experiencing it. And I hope that you will understand. Yeah. And they knew that my nervous system was still growing and I was still going through a tough time. And I took my own space and I went downstairs, down to my room, underneath where everything was happening. And I start to hear scream processing, like, people were going through this extraordinary process. And I knew in that moment that God was protecting me.
Wow.
God was protecting me because I would never be able to handle what could have happened in a space like that. I don't know what happened there, but I do know that my alarm systems went off. Yep. And I was brave enough to trust it, even though I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to create discomfort for anybody. I didn't want it to be awkward. Yeah. You know, we have to be willing at any time to notice shifts in people's energies and be brave enough to say, I revoke, thank you. Not a judgment on you, nothing wrong with you. You're on your path, I'm on mine. Like, I'm not available for evil in my life. Period. That's as simple as that. And if I feel like something is off, I'm going to simply say, with all due respect, step back. You know, I've had evil in my field before and I needed love because that's actually what removed it.
Yeah.
I would want that same thing for others, but I don't need to be available for it. Exactly. And that's something we need to consider, especially going into group spaces if we're going in as a participant, and definitely if we're dealing with anything as a facilitator.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for sharing that, honestly, because that just painted a full picture in that the person didn't know what they were doing.
Yep.
Or maybe they did, but they weren't equipped, informed.
I say this respectfully.
Yeah.
If you're invoking a bunch of beings, I don't believe you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I say that with love and respect, because if you go, I call in all angels of all 4 directions. I'm calling in the above and below angels.
Who are you calling? I'm like, this doesn't feel pure.
No, it's because it's not.
It's not.
You have to be able to feel the spirits that are coming in one by one, be able to challenge them, be able to get true love back, and be able to actually know what their role is. Instead, people usually go, I'm calling in all my ancestors. I certainly don't want to call in all my ancestors. I'm telling you right now, not all my ancestors are on speed dial, okay?
Yeah.
And then I'm calling in all my angels. What angels?
Yeah.
I'm calling in all spirits of pure presence. What spirits, right? Those are my questions. And I want anybody who's facilitating to challenge, what spirits are you invoking?
Yeah.
Unnaturally, by force. Because when you're doing that, you're saying, I open myself up for loopholes. Yeah. I allow a trickster being to come into my field. Yep. Because let's make this abundantly clear. Vibration is different than awareness. Lots of high vibe people are attacked. Actually, some of the greatest spiritual mainstream leaders I see are losing the light in their eyes more and more. They're completely hijacked because they're spiritual personalities and they forgot that awareness is the most important. Awareness is how we raise in dimensional understanding. It's how we raise in dimensions. Higher dimension is just higher awareness. That's it. Higher awareness means I'm more aware of the sophisticated interference and the reality of who I truly am inside of this interdimensional game that we're playing. Yeah. So when we focus only on vibration, then we believe that at some point we don't experience any of reality. That's like you and I saying, because you and I are sitting right here experiencing this, that there's not war that's happening. Or 3 streets over, we're not dealing with, homeless people left and right. Just because I'm not focused on it does not mean it does not exist. Yep. So awareness creates power. And from that power, then we can use and exercise greater discernment in our power when we're dealing with the reality of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first time I experienced that. It was the first circle or whatever that I went to. And I'm like, we leaving, we going.
I think in the new age shift that we're in, there are going to be much less glorified rituals. There are going to be less rituals and ceremonies that overemphasize glorifying different things in order to create different results. Like, I believe ultimately these rituals are great harvesting centrals for different entities, nefarious entities. And ultimately we'll have to recognize that you could release today. It doesn't have to be a full moon. And you could plant new seeds today. It doesn't have to be a new moon.
You plant all the time. God tells you to plant seeds all the time and they will grow in the harvest, but you keep tilling the soil and you keep nurturing the soil or the body as you will. Speaking of rituals, there are all these pilgrimages that are taking place all over the world. And I bring this up because I look at what you do as mission work.
Thank you.
With the Great Merge. Yep. And I know that because I know your heart, I know your ethos, and it's a very different energy that you feel versus like some of the stuff that I've seen. There's a lot of people going to Egypt right now.
How much time do we have?
I don't know.
No, not legitimately, but
I mean, I was like, I don't know.
You said Egypt and rituals in a sentence, and I was like, how much time do we have? I could go on and on about this.
I think what I want to tie in is every person, I either feel like this is a compulsion or a possession. I don't know which one yet. But I feel like every person that has gone to Egypt and come back has come back fucking possessed. Mm-hmm. And I've seen that.
I had a client who went to Egypt with major spiritual influencers and left with an entity attachment. Like major names. And she got weird. And I remember saying to her one day, like, can I just tune in.
Yeah.
Because when she told me she was going to Egypt and that she was a part of this, I don't know, spiritual seeking thing with a bunch of cool spiritual leaders, I thought that's fantastic. And I don't know why I feel a little bit of ick about it, but do you? And so she went, and then she came back, and then things started to shift. And when I finally went in and I, said, hey, can I research and see what's going on here? And I saw the main person that was leading implant an entity into her energy, and that someone around her was having like this like crazy spiritual process. And it was like creating this like breeding ground for multiple, for this one entity to attach to multiple people inside of the space. I was like, oh, this is how you know that high vibration or spiritual personalities does not equal being somebody that you can trust. And furthermore, if you're going to a place that has high ancient information, spiritual growth, and significant portals, do not go unless you know what discernment is. Just don't go.
Yeah.
If you see cool spiritual personality plus going on a pilgrimage around the Nile and you don't know how to place your own grounding cord and you don't know how to feel when something feels off, you are in danger. People don't want to hear danger in the spiritual community because it sounds like it's invoking fear, but fear is very real. There are very scary things that are happening on this planet.
Well, the Bible says the war we're fighting is not one of the flesh, but it's one of the spirit.
It is.
I'm paraphrasing it.
Yeah.
But it is. There's a lot of supernatural spiritual warfare going on.
For like thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So we have to navigate spiritual warfare from the lens of interdimensionally, from spiritually. And that means that we're dealing with deceptive forces that are hijacking, loopholing, attaching to our energetic fields to siphon, to pull, and to make it unable for us to pursue our natural paths in life. So all of that is to say, we need connection in these times.
Yeah.
I think COVID showed us that we do not do well without connection.
No, because the main goal of the enemy is to starve you from any likeness of God, the creator.
Totally.
And God made us in love to be loved.
Yes.
To love.
We need.
Right?
We need people.
Yeah.
And that's the age of Aquarius. People helping people. People coming together. Yeah. We're not against each other. We're together for God, right? We're together. God in the body. God in earth, the body. Yeah. We're trying to bring God's original design back into earth. But if we're dealing with spiritual warfare, that means that we have to know what is not God. Yeah. And there's very clearly what is not God on this planet. If we do not have the ability to discern, then we are unable to navigate the warfare that is spiritual. And so if we are participating in anything that is community-based, and this isn't just for those who are opening up energy centers, I'm talking about any event you're doing where there's meditation, where there's breath work, even if you're not opening anything up, it's just simple grounding, releasing. If you're doing any sort of coaching live event, you need to dome up the space. You need to make sure that people are cleansed. You need to make sure that people are being checked in with, not just by people who are trauma informed, but people who are psychically equipped. You need a remote viewer like myself who can be there at the space, clearing the spiritual energy in real time. That's what you need, because the psychic warfare feeds off of visibility.
Yeah.
And the psychic warfare, right? Anytime someone gets super visible, why do they suddenly die? Like people are they're so focused on like all the negativity is what creates the attack. And if you don't focus on it, it won't happen. Why is it that most visible people I see end up losing the light in their eyes at some point of their growth? Visibility is the enemy's loophole, if you will. That is so important for people to understand.
You're in my head. I was literally thinking, like, I want to talk to her about visibility because, and I want to go in that direction. Like, what would you say to someone right now? Like, there are healers and there's people like growing in their visibility.
Yeah.
They're feeling the call to like remove the veil, come out of the hiding.
Yep.
You know, you've been hidden in plain sight, and sometimes God hides you in plain sight for your protection.
Yep.
But now it's time to, He's uncovering you so that you can be positioned to go forward. What would you say to someone like that, especially when it comes to visibility and interference?
Yep. So a lot of times God will use weak spirits in your immediate circle to try to detour you. That was something I did not know. And I had to learn it the hard way.
See?
Close clients that were desperate souls that were still very lost. Family members who were confused about who they truly were. God will sometimes use the weak spirits, like in the Bible with the Pharaoh, how he hardened the Pharaoh's heart. God hardened the Pharaoh's heart to show the miracle of God. Sometimes God will have to make the weak spirited, I guess, if you will, the tactic to try to help you get on your mission. And then sometimes the enemy will use weak spirits to try to get to you, to detour you from your true mission. You have to know that the enemy wants to work in your close circles because it's the closest to your heart. So that it can detour you from staying visible. So that's part one. A lot of times it works through the people that you love the most and the people you care for the most. And know that if and when you get betrayed, God is helping you prepare yourself. I believe it's a higher lesson and initiation for God to prepare you with deeper standards, stronger discernment, and greater protection moving forward. The second thing is evil loves to work through the internet. Stop looking at your fucking comments. Because the more you grow in visibility, people are not going to like you. If you're spiritual and you're making money, you're a grifter. If you're spiritual and you're channeling, you have mental illness issues. Whatever it is, people who are not aligned with God will be the people who will try to, I guess, bully you on the internet to make themselves feel better so that you do not pursue your mission. You need to it's not that you don't need to care about what people think. You just need to know where those people are in their place of their life and know that your job is to be on stage, not to notice how the audience feels about you.
I love that.
Who cares about the audience? They're there. Visibility is visibility, regardless if it's positive PR or negative PR. That's one thing I've learned. I always wanted it to be positive PR, but it's not all positive PR. No. And actually negative PR works really well because inside of the negative PR, you'll find the right people. And nowadays people love to look for negative marketing to be able to validate themselves.
You'll get what you look for.
Totally.
Whether you look for the positive or the negative, you'll always find what you're looking for.
Totally. And in the internet specifically, that is evil's favorite place to be. So if you're going to be visible online, know that you will be visible online. That's why you need to make sure that you're extra protected, that you have your strong discernment, and know that inside your close circle, it's not that you don't want to trust the people in your close circle. It's that you want to be mindful of the weak spirits in your circle. Those that are very easy to give into temptation, very easy to give into the quick path, very easy to look for shortcuts, because those are the people that either God will harden their hearts so that it helps you get further, or evil will weaken them and then use them against you so that you have to then separate from them to fortify your direction with God. It's one or the other, but it matters.
Would you, speaking of all of that, like with visibility, like, is that why healers like that they're so close to like just blowing the fuck up? They then just go back into hiding. They like self-sabotage. They do all these other, or they just fold.
I believe that if I did not have the support that I did when I got betrayed at the end of 2024 by close clients to me who gave in to evil and are now, I don't honestly know where, I don't think I would ever come out of my closet if I did not have the right support. I think it would have destroyed me. And I believe a lot of times, a lot of healers have not talked about those people who have betrayed them or hit that core wound for them or had evil working through them. And how that destroyed them, hurt them, really, really deeply hurt them because they have pure intentions. And then you see how evil works. And it's usually in the people that are the closest to you. And then it hits something so core wound that you don't know if you can do it again or keep going or have the will to keep going. I know that my will is not normal. And I also know that it's very important in those times when those things happen to know that God is in your corner in those times. Because who he made me in that time of betrayal will make sure that I never allow people to cross me like those people did. I will never get too friendly with clients.
No.
I will never breach and allow people into my home who are my clients. Like, I know what that line is that God needed me to see in the sand very clearly. And that only would have happened if I was fucking dancing all over it, because I loved them and they had been with me for a long time. And so the challenge that healers come into is that it is so vulnerable to be who they truly are. But it's so strong to be who you truly are. And you have to take care of your emotions separately and serve the truth. That is how you maintain a public message and a private human experience. I used to share all of my emotions publicly.
Yep.
Now, nobody gets access to what's going on privately.
Yep.
You know, it's like I have my private experience, and that's what my human is. That's where my emotions are. But I don't let the world have access, because I am here to serve the truth that God has given me to the world, not to share how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
So I think the way that healers can keep going through these initiations where God is fortifying their spirit and they're seeing how corrupt and deceptive evil is in their inner circle or just online, and that makes them more afraid to keep showing up, is separate. Take care of your emotions in the comfort of your own home, and really lean on the people you have that you know are your forevers. Get a good mentor that you love that can hold you through those times spiritually as well. Have the right partner or a good close friend that you can say, hey, can you hold space for me? That you know actually, truly, deeply, and completely, without a shadow of a doubt, loves, honors, and appreciates all of you. And then share the truth. Your gifts are for the world. Your life is for you.
I love that.
When you try to blend, that's when it becomes an issue, because now you're making the life you live for the world, which means the world has the power to take away the life you live. That can't happen.
I feel like that was one of the lessons that I had to learn.
Me too.
In 2022, and that was God's correction for me.
Yep.
Because up until that point, and I mean quite literally 2023, up until the miscarriage, I had made my clients my life.
Yep.
Love my clients. Yep. Love all of you. It's only now, I've like, since we've worked together and like all the clients thereafter, it's a healthy life is for life.
Yes.
So we can life together and friend together.
Yes.
And that's a separate hat.
Yep.
But when work is there, we can work together, and that's a separate hat.
Yep.
But prior to that, prior to the miscarriage, that cycle was so enmeshed.
Yep.
Because it was almost like, oh, if I'm living, I can't live for me.
Yes.
I am living for the client or for whatever it is, insert whatever it is.
Yep.
Right? And then that has dominion over my life.
Yep. Our gifts are directed to the world, but the life that we live and the things that make our life feel full, those stay sacred.
Yeah.
And that allows evil to not have the loopholes or the power over you by hijacking the things you love the most or infiltrating the things you love the most, because your gifts are very clear. This is who it's for. This is what my message is. This is why I'm here. And then you live an extraordinary life that no one would even know whether you were living on a private island or living in the middle of New York City. I think that will allow more healers to find that finer line between, I have a process and I feel called to share it with the world, and now the whole world has access to everything I'm doing in my process.
Yeah, because I feel like we're living in this age where, you know, social media is social.
Yep.
Then it's the whole, oh, we got to be who we are, be authentic. Of course you want to be authentic. But then I feel like people have confused authenticity with completely just airing out your whole life. And then that gives access to monitoring spirits and the evil eye, whatever you want to call it. I call it monitoring spirits. Hello, like keep some, there has to be a boundary in place.
Totally, because we're in the rise of the influencer. We're moving out of the rise of the celebrity. Like, who gives a shit about celebrities? We don't want to glorify somebody we don't even know.
Yeah.
So we want to know people more. However, there's a way to exemplify leadership without exposing personal information. And this was something I had a hard time doing because I built my business like a journal. I built my business like a journal. It was a place for my soul to process my own evolution. Now, I process my evolution in my journal.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I share the main lessons that impact directly strong hybrid starseeds who are here developing their gifts on planet Earth, who want to use their unique gifts to help the world, who are going through insane visibility and interference. Those messages, those lessons are for them, not the mess while figuring out the lesson.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah, I think this is fantastic. I wonder, do you feel like there's any kind of final pieces that we believe it's important to bring through?
No, I feel complete.
I think we touched on what the heart of the healer is. Well, let me ask you, what does the heart of the healer mean to you? And then I'll answer after you, if that's okay.
Yeah. To me, the heart of the healer is the ability to be so open and so at peace, even when there's chaos, even when I think of the heart of the healer as this: if there's a storm or a tornado swirling around you and swirling around you, yes, your hair is going to be disheveled. Like your skin's probably going to be marked or like scarred or whatever with sand, or sandstorms were a thing growing up. So I allude to that. Sand, like it's going to pulverize your skin. So you might be bleeding, you might be hurt, blah, blah, blah. But in that, can you stay so rooted? Can you stay so grounded and anchored in faith, in God, in love, and keep your heart open? But at the same time, that storm does not consume you and uproot you with it. Which means your energy, your ability, your conviction, your faith is so unwavering. It creates this force field around you. Nothing can get in. But you can stay open.
Yes, but you can stay open. Yeah, because it's so easy to...
It's so easy to, and even with staying open, it's so easy to stay open and take in everything.
Totally. So maybe the key is balance. It goes back to kind of some of the original points.
Right? Because the heart of the healer is, to me, the heart of the creator, the artist. Right? So.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. What does the heart of the healer mean to me? It's the bump, 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 bump of truth.
Yeah.
It's the compass that guides you not just to create, but to create honestly.
Yeah.
To create in truth with your rhythm that's unique to what your intuition is guiding you. To me, the heart of the healer is the heartbeat of truth.
Yeah.
And for each of us, I believe that there's a different beat in each and every single one of us that says, this is the truth for me. This is the truth for me. Because God, I believe, gives each of us this unique new opportunity that we're offering to this world of change. And if we can stay true to that, that way, then I believe that we've really understood what the heart of the healer is, which is to hear the truth of God within us, unique to us, sovereign to us, in command, in connection with us. Yeah. And then following where that beat takes us, every new beat. So thank you, T. I'm so glad we did this. And I hope that today's message, because it hit so many different things, I really hope that those who were designed to hear this found what their...
Yeah. Do you want to close this with a prayer?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
I mean, we open...
Well, you don't pray out in public, so maybe I will, if you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I was going to say, maybe you can take it away, but I receive your boundaries, so I will do that. Okay. All right, everybody. So assuming you're not in the car or somewhere that's not safe, I encourage you to just take a moment and close your eyes. If you've been with us this whole time, or if you've made it all the way to the end, take a moment and close your eyes. And if it feels good, you can place a hand or both hands on your heart. And take a full deep breath. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for arriving in a time where awareness is our weapon Thank you for sharpening it with us today. Thank you for receiving whatever you were meant to receive and whatever was not meant for you. Thank you for your discernment. Thank you for your trust. But greater than that, leader to leader, thank you for loving me anyway. Thank you for accepting me anyway. Where you found truth in this, thank you, and where you did not, thank you. Because I believe the greatest world that we can contribute to is one where we say, I don't resonate with that, but I love, honor, and respect you anyway. Take a deep breath. Take a moment to reflect on what the main nugget is that you want to take with you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again next quarter.
Yeah.
To infinity and beyond.
Of course. Team VP for life.
Team VP for life!